Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about the wisdom of the late, great Charlie Munger, specifically his game plan for anyone looking at their finances after the age of 50. This isn't about chasing hot stocks, it's about mastering the second half of the game.
So, let's just get right to it, okay? The big question that might be nagging at you, is the game already over? Did you miss your shot at building real, lasting wealth? Let's see what Charlie had to say.
And Munger's answer, well, it's a hard truth. It's not about being a genius anymore. The most important thing to understand is that for you, right now, the rules of the game have totally changed.
He liked to think of an investor's life kind of like a football game. Two very different halves. And here's the kicker. The aggressive, high-risk strategy that got you to halftime, that's not the strategy that's going to win you the championship.
This right here, this really reframes what winning even means. Just look at the difference. In your 20s, 30s, even 40s, it's all about high growth. Your biggest asset is time. You can make a mistake and you've got decades to recover. But after 50, the goal flips to preservation. Your mindset has to shift from, how can I win big, to the much more important question, how do I make sure I don't lose? It's all about protecting what you've already built.
So your number one job isn't finding the next Google or Tesla anymore. It's about systematically, deliberately avoiding catastrophe. Or as Munger would probably say, your new full-time job is to just not be an idiot.
This is classic Munger. He had this brilliant mental model he called inversion. And the idea is just so simple but so powerful. Instead of asking, how can I succeed, he would flip it and ask, what are all the things that would guarantee I fail? And then he would just religiously avoid doing those things. And he saw three things that destroyed more wealth than anything else. First, leverage. He called debt poison for a reason. One bad bounce and you're wiped out. Second, speculation. Look, trying to day trade against a 25-year-old with 6 computer screens is a game you're just not going to win. And finally, complexity. His rule of thumb was perfect. If you can't explain the investment to a reasonably smart person in 5 minutes, you're probably the sucker at the table. So playing defense really just means avoiding these 3 temptations.
And you know, this wasn't just some abstract theory for him. Munger watched a very, very smart friend of his, an Ivy League guy, get absolutely wrecked because at 55, he felt like he was behind. So he started taking huge risks during the dot-com bubble trying to catch up, and he lost half of everything. He spent the rest of his life talking about the money he almost had.
So you gotta ask, what makes smart people do such colossally dumb things with their money? Munger argued it isn't really greed. No, it's something way more toxic.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It's such a profound insight into the psychology of bad decisions. Envy is the little voice that tells you to abandon your perfectly good plan just because your neighbor is getting rich faster on something dumb.
And Munger just lays out the sheer irrationality of it. Think about it. With almost any other sin, you get a little something out of it, right? A momentary pleasure, a delicious meal. But with envy, what do you get? Absolutely nothing. Zero. You just get to sit there feeling miserable while the person you're envying is off on their yacht, completely oblivious. Envy makes you forget the number one rule of the second half. You are not competing against your neighbor. You're competing against yourself. It's what made Munger's acquaintance watch his golf buddies get rich on oil stocks, and he just couldn't stand it. So he leveraged up to get in on the action, right before the whole thing came crashing down. Total wipeout.
Okay, so if avoiding stupidity is your defense, what's your offense? I mean, you can't just stick your money under a mattress. Well, according to Munger, your greatest offensive weapon is something that sounds incredibly simple, but is unbelievably hard to do. Basically, nothing. This idea, it cuts against everything the financial news channels scream at you every single day. They need you to be constantly doing something. But Munger knew the real secret to building and, more importantly, keeping wealth isn't about being active. It's about being patient.
So why is waiting so powerful? It all comes down to what might be the most powerful force in the universe: compound interest. It's the magic that does all the heavy lifting for you, but it only works if you can just get out of the way and let it do its thing.
Munger was absolutely convinced that getting to this first milestone is the hardest, most brutal part of the whole journey. Why? Because that first 100K isn't built with the magic of compounding. It's built with your sweat, your savings, your discipline. It's the entry fee to get on the compounding train.
And let's be honest, compounding feels like a joke at first. It's boring. That first decade is just a slow, painful grind. And that's exactly where most people get discouraged and quit because they look at their statements and think, what's the point? But if you can just survive the boredom, that's when the curve starts to bend up and the real magic begins.
Okay, so how do we pull all this together? How do you actually build this championship mindset for the second half of your life? Well, Munger, being Munger, boiled it all down to a few rules for living. Simple to understand, but not so easy to do.
He really believed that being truly wealthy isn't about having the most toys, it's about having peace of mind. And you don't get there by adding more stuff and more complexity to your life. You get there by subtraction. You systematically remove the things and the people that cause chaos and ruin.
And this right here might be the most important mental shift of all. You have to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner. A fancy job title feels good, but it doesn't compound. Your salary stops the minute you stop working. An asset, though, an ownership stake in a good business, that works for you 24/7, year after year, even when you're on vacation.
And really, this is it. This is the whole philosophy in one sentence. It's one of the most liberating ideas in the world of finance. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to predict the future. You just have to have the discipline to consistently avoid the big, dumb, catastrophic mistakes that you see everyone else making around you.
And so, that leaves us with Munger's final question. It's the choice that really sums up this entire philosophy. Because the goal in the second half of the game isn't about having more stuff than the other guy. It's about having your own dignity, your own independence, the freedom to live your life exactly on your own terms. And that, as Charlie Munger would tell you, is the only game worth winning.